Day 18, people. We're getting it done, okay? We're going to get through this one way or another, aren't we? Welcome. All right, glad you're here. How you doing? Check in with yourself, okay? We're cheering on Jared still. Let's go, Jared. We're going to get you there. Well, we ain't going to do nothing. We're just going to cheer you on and hope to bask in the glow when you get that gold medal, okay? That'd be fucking amazing. Let's go, Jared. Come on, buddy. All right, people, check in with yourself. Are you grumpy today? Are you a little rubbed the wrong way? Things jumping up and giving you friction in your morning? Because sometimes that happens. Sometimes the Ravens want to squawk at you for no good reason. All right? So you got to go ahead and, you know what I did with the Ravens today? I gave them bad boys that big old tomahawk ribeye bone. Okay? You know, the big one, the really big tomahawk bone. I took it out there and gave them. You know, they freaked the fuck out, right? They were jumping around, dancing around it. They're still out there dancing around it, not sure what to do with it. They pecking at it. They fighting over it. It's great to watch. Great to watch. I can see them right now just doing their thing. Just jumping around. That's why I keep looking over there, see what they're up to. Anyway, that's fantastic. The Raven Lunch Crew, we'll have to make some stickers about those guys. Love the Ravens. Who doesn't love a good Raven? You know what I mean? They're actually really family, lovable, social creatures. Not at all like what Edgar Allan Poe, he lied to us about it. You know, he lied to us about what ravens are. Come on now. All right. How's that emotional plumbing doing today? You guys all good? You got it? No leaks, no clogs, all that stuff? I hope so. Hope you're good. Speaking of emotional plumbing, I right after this, I'm going to go install a little misting system for the garden. So I'm pretty excited about that. You know, there's multiple ways to stoke the fire. It's not all just visual. Sometimes you get excited about a little side project, you know, to do a little mist, make it a little humidity for the garden or for whatever you're trying to work on, people. So that's pretty fun. And I don't really have much to talk about today. I know that's crazy, right? Don't got much to say, don't got much to talk about. But I'm going to jump right on in, down here in this demo in a second. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some faces. Some watercolor faces. So why don't you come on down here with me and check out what I got going on today. I got some faces from the old sketchbook. And why don't you throw me up in that corner. See what we got going on with the corner. And what I'm going to do real quick is just wake up these old watercolors who've been sleeping. And I got a couple heads down here. All good and ready to go, like you see. And I drew these a little while ago, just for fun. Gonna wake up my brushes too. They've been sleeping. Okay. Now, I'm just gonna go ahead and I got 6 of these faces, and what I wanted to do was go over the initial strategy on how to paint faces. Okay, how to get them nice and painted. Now I got a couple other faces painted somewhere in here. Somewhere in here, I got the Sulk. He went on a vacation with his family overseas, and I painted a fun little face there, little sketch. And then let's say I got somebody else in here. See if I can find it. Oh, there he is. We got Kevin Nash right here. A little portrait I did for him. Now, I'm going to tell you just the sketching strategy, okay, to sketch faces. All right. And you might be like, well, what's that? Well, remember how we talked about layers and channels? And the layers you are the evolution that you build through your picture. You stack the layers up, and then you optimize the information in the channels according to each layer as you go up. And what we're going to talk today is just the initial layers. It's the same idea, the same concept, the same strategy, but we're just going to talk about the initial layers of creating a sketch in watercolor of someone's face. Okay, I'll come on back down here to this guy. Get it going again. So every face basically has 3 zones in it. Okay, it has the top, the middle, and the bottom zone. So I'm going to work on this one real quick right here. And you know what? We might as well get a little bit of, no, we'll get the tape action going on the next one. How about that? Okay, and I'll show you, because he's got a little cigarette right there. We'll make some nice, whatever, it's a nice wispy smoke. But anyway, so you got 3 zones, okay, people? 3 zones. And say the light's above him, the warmest zone is going to be, I'm just going to grab a little yellow right here. The warmest zone is going to be up here. So you go ahead and paint that in, okay? Paint in the lights. Remember, In watercolor, we work light to dark, and in everything else, basically, it's the opposite. So we're gonna go ahead and paint a little bit of, that's the first zone. Now that's how the light hits in that region. The next zone, we're gonna do this. It's a little bit cooler. It's still warm, but it's a little bit cooler. And that's just about the brow down to the upper lip area, okay? And then of course the bottom zone is the coolest. And that's gonna be like, say purple or whatever like that, okay? And then we're gonna go ahead and extend that down to the neck. Gonna include that. And that's kind of just the rough, that's like the first layer, okay people, for our target colors. And those are just flats. I'm gonna do everything with flats. And then you're saying, Ray, well what's a flat? Well, a flat is a color that I'm gonna put down, and it's all gonna be the same color. There's gonna be no adjustment for gradient. There's gonna be no adjustment for shapes or anything like that. I'm just gonna do a straight fill color. And as you can see, the watercolor already wants to do a little extra work for me, start blending with the layer, the color below it. And that's nice, I like that. So those are the 3 layers, okay? If the light source is from above, those are the 3 layers that it hits your feet, it hits your face. Now we paint those in to establish the initial colors in our target zones. And you're saying, okay, what's that mean? Well, everything up here that we paint is going to be referenced from this base color. Everything down here is going to be referenced from this base color, and everything down here is going to be referenced from that base color. Okay? So if we're going to go ahead and come up in here and we're going to, say for example, do a little bit of shadow on the corner side, which is going to be this side back, what we're going to do is we're going to reference it based off that yellow and create a shadow based off that yellow, okay? Or a cooler color based off that yellow. So it's going to be kind of an orange color, and we're going to just go ahead and put it in there like so, okay? Now when we come down to this layer, it's going to be based off that orange reddish color. So we're going to come in and we're just going to get a little orange reddish color, and we're going to paint that in. See, we're going to pay attention to the angles or the facets of the face, like so. Okay, now these are just smaller shapes, smaller flats on top of those others, the base colors. So now we have like 2 layers right there, okay? 2 layers to establish depth, okay? Now we're going to come in for the bottom and do the exact same thing, people. It's just the exact same thing. We just repeat it over and over and change to adjust to the base color underneath it. And check that out. Check that out. Isn't that easy? Isn't that simple? And you can walk it up to the other color if you want, as you see fit. And then we're going to come down and make below the neck even cooler. So I'm going to grab a darker blue and it's going to come and make the whole thing even cooler. Okay? And you then can go back up and say, okay, I want to make a little bit this area right here, a little yellow, maybe a little touch right there, maybe a little touch right there. And since I've already put in the work for the layers, this is the time when I'm coming in and I'm adjusting it as a whole. I'm adjusting the image as a whole. Okay, and I'm saying, okay, where can I adjust to make things look a little bit better? So that's my goal, my basic sketch goal when I'm painting faces. That's it, very simply. Okay? Very simply. Very simply put. And I will color according to that scheme, or that well, you can call it a schema or color swatch or whatever you want to call it, but that's kind of my strategy for the sketch. Now, if you let it dry just a little bit more, remember I told you that the watercolors tend to dry lighter in value. That's another channel. It's another channel, the value channel. So you're looking at it and you're saying, I thought that looked a lot sharper when I first painted it. Now it's kind of drying away. That's why the color down here in the blue looks so strong compared to everything else, because when we first put those colors down, they look stronger. But as they dry, they get a lot weaker. So we're gonna come in here on his cheek and put in something strong, a stronger reddish color. We're gonna go ahead and put that in under his eye socket, on the side of his nose, and then again on the side of his eye and underneath his eye. Okay, and maybe even under his nose as well. And we're just gonna let that be as that is, and we're gonna put some on his ear, because I want to push his ear back further away from us. Okay, now we're gonna let that sit like that for a minute, and I'm looking at the yellow and I'm saying the same thing to myself. Well, that yellow needs to be more strong, so we're gonna increase the chroma, how much color we have in the brush, and we're gonna come up here on the side just like this, of the 3/4 view of the head, and we're gonna add that. I'm gonna touch it on the upper eyelash or eyelid, and right here, and underneath the crease of the brow, like so. Maybe even in the ear to kind of lighten that up, give a little bit of extra look at that. Now the thing I'm thinking about is, I'm like, there should be a better shadow under his lip. So I'm going to grab that blue that's in the neck, and I'm just going to come up here and throw that under the lip like that. And then I'm thinking the top lip should probably be darker. And so these are all just questions I'm asking myself as I'm going along the drawing. Now we're looking at it and we're saying, hey, that looks pretty good. Now you let it dry a little bit, because you're like, hell, you do all that hard work and you organize all your layers and you're happy with it when it's wet, and then it dries. You're like, what the hell just happened? You're all mad. You're like, damn it, what the hell just happened? You know? And you don't understand. But then you realize, hey, I got to take into account that the watercolor dries, right? You got to think about that, okay? Because when I'm looking at the artwork now, I'm seeing that the shadow parts are drying lighter, and then the really light parts dried so light that they looks a little bit washed out. So we'll go ahead and let that dry. Maybe we'll come back to it, or maybe we'll leave that sketch right there. But we'll come back down to the page, and what we're going to do now is we're going to do the head right above it. Okay? Now I'm going to take some of this tape out, and I'm going to have a little bit of fun with the tape. Okay? The reason why I want to have a little bit of fun with the tape is because our man is smoking a cigarette, and I want to do some of that fun, wispy smoke. Okay? Now, one of the challenges that we're going to do next time, and this is a little inside information for you guys that are watching the demo, is we're going to do a 300 head challenge. Can you believe that? We're going to do a 300 head challenge. You know, some people say do a 100 head challenge. Ooh, do a whatever. But we're going to do 10 heads a day. Now, it's going to be fun. Don't worry, it's going to be fun. And it ain't going to be no time either. You're going to be able to knock these out in no time. And then by the end of it, you're going to be so shocked that, hey, no problem, we got her done. And it's going to be a tremendous accomplishment, okay? So I'm taping this head off, and I don't know how long I've been going so far. Hell, it ain't even been like 10 minutes yet, okay? We're already on to our second head, people. All right? Now we're going to check this out real quick. I want to do the background. I want it to be nice and dark, okay? I'm going to grab some of this brown. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I'm just going to come up here, and I'm going to paint and then try to be mindful of how the wisp of smoke might be, okay? And we're going to go ahead and let that be the little wisp of smoke. All right? Doesn't that look fun like that? And what I'm going to do is soften up some of these edges. I just get my brush wet, dab it just a little bit, and then run it along the edge just to allow that to be softened up by letting the watercolor diffuse into the paper. Okay? Just diffuses. Good old time. Make sure you leave some hard edges in there, because the hard edges make it interesting when you look at the soft edges. If you make the whole thing soft edges, it's not going to look interesting. I'm going to drag that down so y'all can see it. All right. Now I want to clean this up right here. I don't want that to go so strong that it gets rid of the nice break of the wisp of smoke that's going above him, okay? And I want to come in and complete that because I want to complete the background. I want it to be a little striking against the white of the cigarette. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill that in there just like that, okay? Now I'm going to grab some more brown with that blue and just kind of complete it, kind of just go around. You know, we already did the hard work. We already got that wisp of smoke in there. And now it looks all cool. Like he's sitting there and he's smoking a cigarette, and maybe he's thinking about what he's going to do next. Maybe he's thinking about ordering something for, you know, lunch. Who knows what he's thinking about? But he's thinking about something, right? And he's looking over his glasses and he's not sure. He's not sure about something. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit more of that brown. I'm going to grab a little bit of black. Okay? A little bit of black. Now I'm going to use our wet on wet technique to come back in and really put a crisp darkness against one side of that smoke to make it really stand out. Okay? Let's make it really stand out, and it's okay. You want to vary it. And when I say vary the stroke, that means you don't want to paint the whole thing consistently, you know, like a house painter. You want to vary it up. You know, you do little touches here and there. And after a while, you kind of get the feel for it. Little touches. You know, it's kind of a rhythm that you touch the page. And I want to get some of this dark blue and come back up in here. And we're going to put the dark blue behind them so that we can push the focus towards the warm area of the cigarette. That's the whole intention of that. Okay? So now we're sitting here. Remember, I got those 3 zones again of the face. Now I want to absorb some of these little beads. All right. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to shift the temperature a little bit. I'm going to make the top zone orange, orangish red, like so. And you can get all crazy with these colors and have a good time. Okay? And then I'll make the next one a little bit of a green, a warm green. Now I'm just mixing a little bit of this orange with this warm green, and we're going to put it in there and go like so. A little bit of a warm green in there. And then we'll do the bottom, a little bit of a cooler blue. And it's going to do that wet on wet thing. And we're going to let it do it because it's helping us paint. Okay? See how that works? It's helping us paint. Now on faces, you definitely want to dab up any excess water because you're trying to control the shapes of the color you're putting down. And ultimately, as we get better at this, we're going to control the gradients and how, as the form of the face turns away and we use different facets of the face, we want to make those subtle changes to the facets of the color of the color on each facet of the face. So I'm going to grab a nice orange, and I'm going to come to the orange yellow. And I just picked it because it's warm. Okay, people? I just picked it because it's warm. Then I'm going to grab a red. And I'm not really paying any more attention to why I'm picking the colors other than is it warmer or cooler than the layer above it. We need to have the warmest on top and then the coolest on the bottom. So you can play around with your colors. You can change the colors to whatever you want them to be and have a little experiment and see how they work. Okay? Now maybe I'll just grab a regular blue, Corellian blue, and come down here with the blue for the bottom of his face, like so. A little bit under there, a little bit under there, a little dab in the corner of the nose. Alright. Now maybe we'll go with a little magenta orange. I think magenta, then I think, oh, just warm it up a touch. So let's put some orange on it and then put it down here for his body. Like so. And it kind of blends into the background. Like that. And maybe he's thinking about what the hell's going on. Now let's give him some blonde hair to really pop out the top. Just gonna do a whole layer of yellow with a couple of highlighted accents of white, like that. And put a little bit of red because his lips are gonna be warmer, like so. Now that looks pretty good, but I need to adjust that bead of water just a tad. Pull it out, just a tad. Okay, just like that. Now I'm looking at this right now and I'm thinking this edge right here is too hard, so I got to get rid of it. So I just take my dampened brush and I come in and I just run it over it, dab the brush, and then absorb the water and the paint on top of it. Okay, so now we got a good color gradient. Okay, we don't have any solid edges or anything like that to define the shape, and if we want to do that, we have to let this guy dry more so we can define the shapes on his face. If we continue to paint the shapes on his face while it's still wet, they're all going to diffuse out and they're just going to turn into a gradient. They're going to mix with the other wash below it, and you won't get any definite shapes in the structure of his face. So we're going to let that dry for a second. Let me come back up in here and get a little yellow-green action and just add it to his hair. Give that a little shape so it turns away from the form as it's rotating away. Cool that off a bit. Cool it off a bit down here. One of the things I like to do with the ear is make a darker value of a higher color, little orange that pops through the back of the ear like so. Now what I want to do is I want to come up in here and I want to darken. I'm going to grab some of this black, add some blue to it, some brown, and I want to darken this area right here. I want to bring more attention to his smoke, and I want to really pop it out. I can tell that it needs to be popped out a lot more because when it dried so light. And that really helps to pop it out more when we do that right there. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to check the paper. One of the ways I check the paper is I hold it up and I look to the side to see if it's glossy or not. And I kind of rotate it and see if I can't catch the light when I'm looking at it. If you can still catch the light, it needs to dry more. Okay, people? So what I'm going to do while we're drying is I'm going to pull the tape off because I like to work a lot. I don't like to sit still. I like to work. You know what I mean? When I sit still, sometimes my patience with watercolor runs thin, and so I get upset about it. And so I'm going to pull the tape off so we can see how nice that looks, because that does look nice. Doesn't it look nice? Now it looks all professional and whatnot, right? That looks really good. Now we can come back down to this guy right here who's already dry. See? 2 birds, 1 stone. And once you get like 5 or 6 of them going on your page, you kind of just dance around the page and let the others dry while you're dancing around the page. And you're really doing a recursive action. What does that mean? You're doing the same action over and over and over and over again, and you're just setting it up like dominoes to fall. And each image has its own set of dominoes that's falling. You set the first one going, then the second one going, then the third one going, then the fourth one going. Come back to the first one, do the second one, do the third one, do the fourth one, come back to the first one, do the second one, do the third, and so on and so forth. And you just keep going in that rotation until they're finished. All right, so we're gonna look back down here on this guy right here on the bottom one, and I want to put in some shapes, some anatomical shapes to kind of denote what's going on with his face, right? Because right now, the only thing that's kind of giving me that notation or demarcation of his face are the lines that I put in there previously and some soft shapes. I want some hard shapes, okay? So we're going to take some of this, we're going to get a little bit red, and we're going to look at how it compares to the layer underneath it of color. All right, we're going to put in some hard shapes because the hard shapes on certain areas are what's going to give this image interest because of how the soft and the hard shapes contrast themselves. You see what I'm going with that. The thing that makes anything interesting is contrast, people. So you have to get variability and contrast. Contrast is when you compare one thing against another. When you compare a sharp edge against a soft edge. When you compare a cool color against a warm color. When you compare a fat shape against a thin shape. If you catch my drift. Okay? It's contrast. You compare a straight part of a line to a curved part of a line. Contrast. You want that contrast in there. So in order to do that, you have to put that one shape against the other shape. You have to put that one color against the other color. Now see up here how this area right here, I put this whole shape down hoping that would be the shape. It's not going to work. So I got to reabsorb that water and let it dry a little bit. Then what I have to do is increase the pigment on my brush and then put the pigment back down on that water. As soon as it dries enough, it still be wet, but it has to dry enough to hold the pigment. If you get what I'm saying. And you only learn that through experimentation with the watercolor, because you won't understand it if I just tell you. It'll make sense to your ears and to your mind, but you won't be able to pull it off, because when you go to actually do it, it won't work. So you want it to work. Now I'm just going through different areas and saying, okay, what could be lighter, what could be darker, so on and so forth. Now I'm thinking about what color, if I had a color, what color would really pop out and make this bottom image come to life. And that color is probably going to be turquoise in his eyes. So we're going to grab a fat stick of turquoise on the brush, and we're just going to throw it down in his eyes, like so. We're going to throw it down in his eyes, like so. Okay? And don't worry if it's a little bit outside of the lines. Don't worry about that if it's a little bit outside of the lines. Make sure, come back down here to this, make sure that it looks good, okay? Now you can squint your eyes to see if it looks good, and that helps, okay? You want it to kind of blend together, and then you want to focus on what jumps out at you, all right? Now we're going to take that same orange idea, we're going to pop it back here in his ear, because that'll add a little bit of interest and kind of fill it out a little bit more. And I still want to put this shape in here, okay? So I'm going to grab some more of that pigment, then I'm going to dab it on my napkin over here so I get some of the water off, and I'm going to put down that thick pigment with less water content, okay? Like this, all right? And that seems to do the trick. And that's kind of how you do it. You work your way around, you climb the ladder of the layers, higher layer, higher layer, higher layer. And one more thing, let's add a little bit more shadow over here, so I want a little bit more of this. And practice also making your brush strokes rough. Don't connect them to anything. Make them rough brush strokes. Don't run them into something else, and then when it dries, you'll be surprised how good it looks. Because you're thinking you have to connect all your brush strokes together and to make it look good, but it won't look good. One of my teacher, Yim, he always told me, when you paint a sphere, you don't want to paint a sphere. I said, oh really? What do you want to paint? He said, you want to paint blocks. You want to paint it so that there's facets on the sphere, and then it's interesting. And that's what you want to do. Okay? So people, let's have a good day today. I got the ravens showing up with my packages now. Let's go get after it, okay?